right, well, good morning and welcome back to Intentional Living. Intentional Living. This is such a great book. John Maxwell has written, I think he's written about 100 books at this point in his career. You know, he's 77 years young this year, and we call him Papa John. He's a wonderful, wonderful teacher and mentor, and gives so much to us in terms of our businesses, in terms of leadership, truly equipping, he equips leaders to be able to go out and multiply the value that they add. So if you're on this call this morning, it's because you are a leader. You're a leader and you want to be able to do the same. We talked last week about our little motto that says, I want to make a difference, doing something that makes a difference with people who make a difference at a time that makes a difference. And I don't know about you guys, but at the time of this recording, we need people who are interested in making a difference in the world. We've got to come back together as a nation, as a people, and remember what made us so strong to begin with and bring that out to other people. So regardless of the storms that rage out there, each of us individually and then in our small groups collectively can change the world. That's how it happens. And so I'm super excited about these 10 weeks where we're talking about how do we go from being aspirational to intentional, right? We'll talk a little bit more about that this morning, chapter 2, which we're covering. Again, if you have the book, it's great. Read the book. It's an easy read. It's very simple to absorb these concepts. They are simple, but they're not easy. They're not easy. That's why we're coming together to talk about it. But chapter 2 is called Why Good Intentions Aren't Enough. You've probably heard it said that the road to hell is paved with good intentions. And so all of us have been aspirational in some aspect of our lives. In some area of life, we've been aspirational. Has there ever been an area of your life? This could be your physical health. It could be your relationship with your spouse or your intimate other. It could be your relationship with your kids, your parents, your siblings. It could be in your business. It could be in your finances. It could be in your own faith and spirituality. It could be in your relationships with friends. Has there been an area of your life, raise your little hand there, that you've ever been really aspirational? You wanted it to be better. You wanted it to be better. Right? There's been an area, there's been multiple areas, maybe all of those areas at one time or another. And yet, I bet if I asked you to raise your hand, you would also say that there's been many areas of your life where you were aspirational, but you were not intentional. Like, let's just fess up. You know, we've wanted things to be different, but we've not been intentional about doing the work that it would take to get us there. So we're going to talk about that. Now, for homework last week, I asked you guys to take 30 minutes and to really map out your daily routine, to really set aside 30 minutes where you were uninterrupted by your phone or your email or your kids or your team or anything else, and just sit down and write out, like, what is my typical daily routine? And then to, as you take a look at that, to be really honest and ask yourself, why do I do the things that I do? And how many of the things that I do on a daily basis are moving me towards that intentional life I want to live, towards that intentional business I want to build, towards that intentional level of health and well-being that I want to have, towards the marriage or the family relationships that I truly desire? And I think if we can be honest with ourselves, we will recognize that we're often spending our time doing things that are not moving us towards our goals. Now, we could get into why that is. Look, that's the beauty of coaching and why I love the work that I do, because I can get into people's minds and help them figure out, why am I letting these things get in the way? These things that feel urgent and important. And truth be told, they're probably not. They're probably not. No matter what your business is, there are things that are going to show up throughout the day that feel very urgent to you. But if you really go deep, they're probably not that important. Now, sometimes that happens because we've procrastinated. Any other procrastinators out there. You sort of wait till the last minute, and then all of a sudden it is urgent and important. Now I have to take care of it. And then, of course, who could blame you? Like, this has to get done. This report has to be in by X amount of time, or, this contract has to be presented to the customer, whatever it might be. But truth be told, you've procrastinated. So if you did the homework, what I hope, and I told you guys this on our last session, that's not meant to beat ourselves up like, oh gosh, I'm a terrible person. I'm not doing the things I need to do. Maybe I'm distracted. I'm checking the sports scores. I'm checking my social media. Maybe I'm just taking calls the minute that they come in, even if I'm in the middle of something. Maybe someone knocks on the door and says, hey, do you have what do they always say? They say, hey, do you have a minute? Or hey, do you have a second? Now, raise your hand if someone ever asked you if you had a minute and 60 seconds later they were gone out of your office. No, that never happens, because a minute is never a minute. But it felt like you had to stop and help that person that moment. You were truly just distracted. So there's a lot of reasons. We could get into those. So the exercise wasn't meant for you to go, oh, I'm a terrible person. I'm not achieving my goals because I'm allowing these things that feel urgent or are just truly distractions to get in the way. It's just meant to let you see what percentage of your time are you intentional about what you're doing. So we're going to talk today about why good intentions are not enough, why they're not enough. So most people want to do better. I believe that. I believe that most people want to be better. I believe that most people actually want to help their fellow man and woman. And I think that most people give themselves credit for being more aspirational. I want to be a good person. I'm a good person because I want to be a good person, right? And so we judge ourselves according to our intentions, not according to our actions, not according to our actions. And so what we want to talk about is that gap between what you want to do and what you actually do on a consistent basis. I would never suggest that you should never take a day off. My goodness, some of you need to take a day off. Some of you need to take a day off. Some of you need to take a week off, right? Some of you haven't done that in a really long time. But I am suggesting that we can be more intentional about the way that we're spending our time. Imagine if time was your currency. Because money, we can make more money. We can figure that one out. But we cannot make more time. And so if we treated time the way we treated money and we used it as currency, today I get 24 hours, right? I need 8 of them to sleep. I don't know about you. That is my body wants to sleep for 8 hours. I believe that's good for me. Maybe your body doesn't need 8. Maybe it needs more. Maybe it needs less. But so now I've got 16 left. I've got 16 hours left. I need to eat. I need to be in fellowship with my husband. I need to be in fellowship with God. I need to pray. Okay, now what do I have left? Right? When I get rid of those things that are non-negotiable, now how much time do I have left? Now, that's my currency. Maybe for you it's 8 hours. Maybe it's 7. Maybe it's 9. But how are you spending that? How are you spending that time? This is where being intentional becomes critical. Because if I could go to you at the end of the day and I could see truthfully, your time bank account, and I could see exactly how you spent each precious moment of your day, what would I see? Are you wasting that currency of time? Or are you investing that currency of time? Are you investing it? In other words, is the time that you're spending on certain tasks, is it returning for you? Let's talk about leadership for a moment, because if every one of you sees yourself as a leader, some of you think, well, maybe I don't manage a team. I don't run a team, but you are a leader. You're a leader in some capacity. You're a leader in some capacity. Maybe you have customers. You have to lead those customers. Maybe you have strategic partners, other businesses, either internal or external, that you're doing business with. You have to lead them. Okay, so if you see yourself as a leader, then you're investing your time into people that will allow you to multiply your efforts. Or are you trying to do everything on your own? Where are you not leveraging the relationships that you have? Where are you not leveraging the business opportunities that you have so that when you invest that time, it returns to you multiplied, right? That's leadership. Leadership isn't being the boss. Leadership is sharing the load, right? Pouring into the people so that your time is maximized. Okay. So this is where we're going to talk about bridging the gap from being aspirational to intentional. And that starts with a commitment, a commitment. Here's what I do know though. Some people deep down don't believe they can actually make a difference. They actually don't believe that they have enough something to actually make a difference in the world. And that's sad to me. So we're going to talk today about how you can see yourself as a change maker, how you can see yourself as someone who actually does make a difference. Does make a difference. Now, some of you already believe this. Some of you already believe that you can make a difference. You already believe that you're intentional in some areas of your life and that you can be intentional in other areas. But there's probably somebody out there that wonders, who am I to make a difference? You know, how can I make a difference? I'm one person. So hopefully we'll get through some of that today. So I'm going to ask some questions. Feel free to pop into the chat or raise your hand. I'll unmute you. But what types of things do you think people usually have good intentions about, but rarely ever take action on? Can you think of things people have, they've got really great intentions, but they don't actually take action? What are some of those things? You know what they are. Help me out here.
Prospecting.
Prospecting. So true. So true. So for those of you that are in sales, which is probably just about everybody on this call, you know, that's the most important thing you need to do in your business, right? Is find new business, find new business opportunities. And how many of you have ever said, this is going to be the day, or this is going to be the week when I'm going to do the thing that matters most to help bring new business opportunities to the table? And then you find yourself like, this is a tale as old as time. It's Monday morning. I'm gonna hit the desk. This is the week. I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make some calls. I'm gonna go see some people. I'm gonna do that face to face, the telephone. I'm gonna maybe send out some emails. There's a lot of ways to prospect. And then you get to your desk and open the email first. And then there's about, I don't know, a couple dozen, maybe 100, depending on whether you've got some good firewalls set up. And you think to yourself, first, let me just clean out the inbox. And then I'm picking up that phone. Some of you have heard me say this. Your email inbox is a to-do list created for you by someone else. Someone else has created your to-do list. And so you think you're going to clean out these emails. Maybe there's 20, maybe there's 100. A couple of hours goes by. There's probably a few emails in there from maybe colleagues or people who need something from you. And the next thing you know, it's lunchtime. So guess when we're going to start prospecting? Tomorrow. Tomorrow is the day. Tomorrow I'm going to get to my desk and I'm going to get in there. I'm going to do that work. Right. And then something else comes up. So we've all done that. That's a great example of an area where people are very aspirational, but not very intentional. So I'll tell you a quick story. On Saturday, I had an executive director call with the John Maxwell team. So as an executive director with the John Maxwell team, we have a lot of group calls where we kind of crowdsource ideas and present some of the new Maxwell material or just go over old material and talk about how we can use it to help people. Well, Saturday's call was all about one of the first modules of the Maxwell method of selling, right? And this is a shameless plug because in the fall, you'll be able to get certified with me to be certified in the Maxwell method of selling. So you're getting a lot of great stuff. But this group call was about prospecting, strangely, that you brought it up, Calvin. And so we went into breakout rooms and one group talked about telemarketing. Like everybody's like, ah, but you know, just talking to people on the phone. One group talked about social media. One group talked about direct mail. One group talked about email. One group talked about like networking, you know. And so each group had to talk about the advantages and disadvantages of every type. So I ended up on the telemarketing, what most of us would call really prospecting over the phone. And so we talked about hot, warm, cold, ice cold, different types of calls. And everybody came up with a million great ideas about what was advantageous about it and what was disadvantageous about it. And every group did the same. And when we came back together and we started sharing those ideas, our coach at the time asked, how many of you were doing these things? And it was like crickets. It was like crickets out there. And so what we realize is we all know what prospecting entails. And we can all talk about it. We can all talk about the best ways to do it, the not great ways to do it, and what works and what doesn't work. But there were very few people that were consistent in any of those areas. So this is a big area for business people where they are very aspirational and often not intentional. Okay, so keep that in mind. What's another area? Look, so what I'm saying is I'm guilty. I'm right there with you guys. What's another area of life that you find maybe you yourself or other people are aspirational but not intentional? How about your health? How about your health? They say the heaviest weight at the gym is the front door. Front door is the heaviest weight at the gym.
And people want to get in shape before they go to the gym.
What's that?
People want to get in shape before they go to the gym,
Yeah.
so they're not
Yes, right. Yeah, so Marianne said self-care, doing what's good for me. Yeah, I mean, for so many people, it's like, this is the week. I'm going to go get a massage. I'm going to go take a yoga class, like whatever it might be. And then we're aspirational, but we don't do it. Marie said getting together with friends and family. Boy, yeah, isn't that sad? We all go to work because we want to make a living to support a life. And then the people in that life that we're supposedly working for are getting scraps. Tony Robbins always says that entrepreneurs, especially high productive people, they will give 150% to their business. And then they'll take home scraps to the people that they're in business to support. Right? So even if you're not an entrepreneur, you may find yourself giving everything you've got to your career. Then by the time you get home, your spouse and kids get scraps, or your cat or your dog, right? So we tend to be aspirational I'm going to take this weekend off. Sunday, we're going to go have brunch. We're just going to have a family day. Let me just take this one call. Or, you go in the bathroom to check your email, right? So these are areas so we've all done it, I guess, is the point here. And so again, this is not about beating ourselves up, but we're shining the flashlight on those areas of life where we have been aspirational but not intentional. So those of you who shared, it's probably a good chance you felt that at some point, if not right now, in your own life. And so I'm going to ask you in a minute to make a commitment about what you're going to do about that this week. What are you going to do about that, right? John Maxwell says in the Intentional Living book, he tells a story of when he was a kid. He was a basketball player. John's a pretty tall guy, and he loved to play basketball. Well, he really wanted to play football, but he knew that his parents, or at least he thought that his parents would frown upon him doing two sports because they thought it would negatively affect his grades. And so he would tell his buddies every football season, next year I'm going to play football. Next year I'm trying out for the football team. Then he would think about his family and think, gosh, my parents are not going to support this. So he never did it. And so he went all the way through high school and never played football. And so he said, I would sit on the sidelines and watch the game that I really wanted to play. Instead of giving his parents the opportunity to help him find a way to navigate both of those sports successfully, he just sat on the sidelines and watched a game and never got to play it. So my question to you is, what is something that you've always wanted to do, but you haven't done yet for whatever reason? What's something that really you feel passionate about? Maybe it's something you'd like to learn. Maybe you'd like to learn to throw pottery. Maybe you've always wanted to take a violin class. Maybe you've always wanted to learn to dance the tango. I don't know what it is. Come down to Margaritaville. You can learn to play pickleball. Whatever it might be, don't learn to play pickleball, because apparently it becomes an obsession with people and they can't get off the pickleball court. It's like an addiction. It's not just for us old folks anymore, you youngsters out there. Even the young kids are playing pickleball. So what's something that you've always wanted to do, but you just haven't done yet? And if you're brave enough, drop it in the chat. Like, give it some voice. You know, you've got a little bit of group accountability here. If we know what it is, we can chase you to go and get it done. Oh, public speaking and motivational speaking. I love that, Kirsten. And that's not easy, by the way. That's not easy, but
No,
you know how you get good at it? You just start doing it.
start doing it.
You
And there's
just
a great
start-
story there. Like every time I have spoken, I've been told that I'm good at it, but I haven't really created the way or the pathway, right? I haven't developed the pathway to get there. So,
Wow. You know, Kirsten, if you ever are interested in learning more about what we do at the Maxwell team, let me know, because
Yeah.
we have a whole track to train people to become public speakers. And then we have a guild you can join that gets you out there on the speaking circuit. We can even teach you how to build a public speaking business, but there are ways to do that. But
Yeah.
it starts with just going out and seeing what group might be interested in having you talk to them.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
I love
I
that.
love that. Thank you.
Yeah, well, let me know if you ever want to talk about it. I love the Maxwell
I
team.
will.
We got a lot of
Yeah,
people. That's what they
definitely.
want to do. That's what they want to do. What else? What is something that you've always wanted to do, but you just haven't done it yet? Something you wanted to learn, something you wanted to explore, maybe something within your current career, you know, or another career. Think about those things, because if you're still sitting on the sidelines of your life, however old you are, it's time to get off the sidelines. If it's something you're truly passionate about, maybe you can't give all of your attention to it. But if there's something that I talked about this last week, the word desire, the root of that word is desire. That means of the Father. So we truly believe that when we have that burning desire, it's coming to us from a power beyond ourselves. It's implanted in us. And so if we are, if there's something on your heart that feels like a true deep desire, you didn't put it there. And so if you've been issued that desire, then you'll be equipped to see it through. You might have to meet the right people and take the right class and do the right things. I'm not saying it's going to be magical, but if God has laid something on you and it's truly a desire, then he will equip you to see it through. So what's something you've been on the sidelines about that you could carve out just, 15, 20 minutes a week towards? Gary Keller, who is the founder of Keller Williams Realty, tells the story of he wanted to become a musician. He wanted to play guitar. This was after he had founded Keller Williams, the real estate company. And so he's, well into adulthood at this point. So he went to a guitar teacher and he said, I got about 20 minutes a day. That's all I've got. What can I learn? And so the teacher said, well, you can learn these, I'm going to guess the number, 3 chords. And with these 3 chords, you can play just about any Southern rock song out there on these 3 chords. Gary said, great, I love Southern rock. So he really practiced and he learned those chords. Gary Keller plays in a band. And he knew that he wasn't going to be able to devote the amount of time necessary to become Eddie Van Halen. So he didn't have any aspirations to that. He was very honest about the amount of time he could commit to that. But by devoting 20 minutes a day, he got good enough to be able to play in a band. Now he might have a little influence and a little money, so maybe the band lets him play with them. But the bottom line is he got really good at those 3 chords. So what is it for you? I hope you're thinking of something, and I hope you're being inspired to wonder, why am I sitting on the sidelines? Let's go back to what I started talking about with the currency of your time. Is there something you could give up doing that's not moving you forward, that you could then reinvest that time into doing something that matters? If you mindlessly scroll social media, and don't give me the lie that it's for business, because I know most of the time you're watching cat videos. Where are these cat videos, by the way? I'm not on Facebook or Instagram, but I used to be, and I don't remember any cat videos, but that seems to be the one we all pick on is cat videos. But I know you're watching something that's not necessarily moving your business forward, because if you're on social media and you're intentionally interacting with your clients and potential clients, and if you're bringing up business from time to time, then okay, I'll give you that one. But if you're just scrolling, then you could probably give up some of that time to maybe do something that is going to move you forward in the areas you want to move forward in, and maybe move you forward in an area that you've been on the sidelines about. Okay, so I hope you're thinking about that. So what do you think keeps people from transforming their good intentions into actions? Why is it so easy for us to get stuck? What do you think that's about? I'm curious.
I would say self-doubt is a big one.
Yeah, for sure. Self-doubt. So give me an
Mhm.
example.
Just watching other people, or the whole thing of like seeing other people online doing things and feeling inferior to being able to do it as good as them, right? Or
Sure.
as polished as them, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Um,
So if we take your
to just being
example
authentic.
yeah, okay. So if we take your example of public speaking, you
Yeah.
could go online and you could watch anybody from Tony Robbins to Ed Milet to John Maxwell to,
Hmm.
Mel Robbins. I mean, the list is endless. And if
Right.
all you did was compare yourselves to them, well, you're never going to get up and speak in front of them.
Sure.
Do you
Sure.
think they started, you know, Tony didn't start that way. He tells the
Right.
story of his first event, and he had worked for Jim Rohn for years, and he sort of went out and sold Jim's programs because Jim Rohn was his first teacher. And so Tony's finally, learned enough of what Jim taught that he's gonna kind of go off on his own. And he rented this ballroom at a local hotel, a Holiday Inn or something, and thought he was going to have 600 or 700 people, and he had like 10 people, and 4 of them were his family. He could have quit at that point, but he didn't. He just said, everybody come to the front row, and he poured it on them. So you could look at those people and imagine, wow, I'll never be like them, and so I'm never going to do anything. But they weren't like them either in the beginning, right? So that self-doubt keeps a lot of us from taking action. Let me tell you what I know about this area is that when I realized that when I'm in front of a group, because I have terrible stage fright, which is it's just all our ego, right? How am I going to look? How am I going to sound? What if I say too many times, or what if I'm weaving back and forth, whatever. When I woke up one morning and realized I'm making this about me. This isn't about me. This is about them. I'm here to serve them. I'm here to serve them. Then all of a sudden, I stopped worrying about how I looked or how I sounded or any of those things. And I just showed up and started giving to the people. When I turned the attention off of myself, I started to get good and I got better. So anytime I'm thinking about getting up in front of a group, either here on Zoom or, in front of a group, I don't get nervous anymore, because I just remind myself, this isn't about me. It's about serving them. So the self-doubt goes away because it's not me. I'm just here to serve you guys. Right? Marianne says, we're not good enough. Yeah, same thing. My granddaughter just turned 1 last Saturday, a week ago Saturday. And so I was there for her birthday in Baton Rouge. And she really has no desire to walk, to crawl, stand up, or, much less walk. She's got 3 older brothers. Why? She just goes like this and somebody gets her. But we keep pushing her to try to crawl. And the thing is, she kind of drags one of her little chubby legs underneath her. It's really awkward. She's horrible at it. She's just not good at it. So, do you think we should just give up and just pick her up, strap her on, and carry her the rest of her life? Or do we say, no, you're going to keep doing it until you get good? Tony always uses that example. How long do you give your average baby to learn how to walk? How long? as long as it takes.
As long as it
As
takes. Yeah.
long as it takes. No one says, well, I'm gonna give my kid 12 months, and if they're not really good at this, that's it, I'm putting them in a wheelchair. Like, no one would do that. So we're not good enough? No, not when we start. We're only gonna get good enough if we keep doing it. Right? So why? Any other things that you can think of why we get stuck?
You just get overwhelmed with how large something is.
Yeah, for sure. Overwhelm. This is, a prime example of why so many people don't end up getting in shape. So here's what happens. Like, okay, this is it. I gotta stop eating donuts. I gotta get to the gym. Okay, let me do some research and see. First of all, what gym is the best? What are the different prices at all the gyms? Now, okay, let's say I've picked a gym. Now, what kind of clothes? Do I need a sports bra? Do I need this high impact, low impact? Do I get
Mm.
shorts? Do I get leggings? T-shirts? Is it cotton? Is it, dry fit? What kind of shoes do I need? Okay, well, what days can I go? I don't know about these days. Do I need a personal trainer? Do I just try it on my own? Maybe I just stay home and do it on YouTube with all. Now look at all these people on YouTube doing fitness classes. How do I know which one to choose? Maybe I should go to my doctor first and make sure that my knees are okay. Do you see how overwhelming that is? Instead of saying, I'm just going to put on my shoes after dinner and take a walk around the block, and then building on that. So it's so true. Overwhelm. We could take that into any area of your business. We could take it into your relationships. The thing is, there's enough information out there that most of us could do just about anything. You want a better marriage? There's tons of information out there. There's a million programs and a million books and a million podcasts. You want to have a better relationship with your kids? Same. You want to get better at prospecting? Same. You want to get in shape? Same. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of knowledge, right? Tony Robbins always says, knowledge is not power. Knowledge is potential power. It's execution that trumps knowledge every day of the week. And that's our problem. We think that we can't execute until we know everything and are ready. And we have to break free from that. We have to take a small step. By the way, I'm going to be asking you to do that this week. So I'm going to pull up a list here for you guys of, let me share my screen, of words here. This is in your handout, so you may have seen this. And this is about, sort of, where do I live? So let's look, and you can, maybe jot these down on paper, or if you printed this out, you can go through this. But I want you to pick one of those areas of life where you really want to move the needle, where you want to move the needle from being aspirational to intentional. So it could be in your career, it could be in your finances, it could be in your business, it could be in your health, it could be in your relationships, whatever it is. I don't care. Pick an area for you that's personal that you really want to move the needle on. And then I want you to look at these words as I go through them and just circle or write down where you think you are in this area, right? In this area, do you have a desire? Or in this area, do you take action? Because it's action that's going to get us the results. In this particular area you're thinking about right now, do you find yourself saying that, I wish this, that, or the other? Or do you have a purpose? Is there a why behind it? We know that when the why is big enough, the how will show up. But most of us get caught up in the tyranny of the how. We get caught up in, well, how am I going to do it? I want to be better. I wish I was better at prospecting, but I don't really know how I'm going to do it. So is it phone calls? Is it email? Is it social media? Which platform should I be on? How often should I post? You see where we get caught up in the tyranny of the how? Instead of understanding that the purpose behind prospecting is to build a business that builds itself. We all know that. I don't really care what your business is, unless maybe you're selling a widget. People want a word of mouth referral based business. Does anybody want to chase cold leads? Raise your hand if you want to chase cold leads. My guess is no one's hand is going up, but the reality is we all want salespeople, meaning customers who go tell other people, you got to use that person. You got to call that person. And so if we understand that our purpose is to build a business that delivers such a high level experience that people are compelled to tell their friends, family, neighbors, colleagues, whatever, about us. We can move from being wishful to being purposeful. All right. In this particular area you're thinking of, are you thinking someday I'll do this? Or is there something you can do today? Today. Because ultimately then you'll be doing it every day. Is it a fantasy for you, or do you have a strategy? Because you're not going to follow through on a fantasy, but you can follow through on a strategy. Are you thinking that hopefully you'll be able to do it, or are you thinking definitely I'll be able to do it? Do you feel like you're more passive in this area, waiting, or are you active? Right? Are you active? Now, we want you to be proactive, not reactive, but are you at least in action? Is it something you do occasionally or something you do continually? Right? If you do it continually, it becomes habitual, and then it's easy. You don't have to think about it. None of you had to remember to brush your teeth this morning. It's a habit. You do it at a certain time. Right? We want this area of your life, whether it's your health, your relationships, your finances, your business, whatever it is, we want it to be habitual. Success in that area should be a habit. Do you feel an emotion around this, or do you have a discipline? We cannot let our lives be run by our emotions. But in many areas of life, we are. I don't feel like doing that. Right? You're more likely to act your way into a feeling than you are to feel your way into an action. Does that make sense? Right? If there's something you know you need to do, the example I always use is like a dinner party. You're like, I don't feel like going, but we really need to go. It's so-and-so's, birthday or whatever. And you go to the party anyway. And then you're like, that was amazing. I'm so glad we went. I saw so many people. It was, I feel really good. So we're more likely to act our way into a feeling than we are to feel our way to an action. I'll do it when I feel like it. Well, a lot of things would never get done, including going to the gym, including prospecting. Most people don't feel like doing things that are hard. But when we're disciplined in an area, that becomes our lifestyle and we get it done. Do you think in this area somebody should, or do you think I will? Somebody needs to do something about this. The company needs to do something about this. Or are you taking ownership and saying, I will do something about this? Are you feeling like you're in survival mode? Survival mode. Or you feel like you're in success mode? Because like we've been talking about, John Maxwell says that anyone can be successful. If you take enough of the right actions, you can be successful in any area. But it takes someone special to be significant. And he said, once you taste significance, success will never again satisfy. So thinking about, your answers there, the idea here is for you to really think into those areas about moving across those columns from having good intentions to being intentional to ultimately building a life that matters. Okay. So there are particular mindsets that get people stuck. We've talked about some of those, right? I don't know that I'm good enough. I don't think I have enough time. I'm not smart enough. I can't do it until I know all of these things. Right? There are a lot of mindsets that keep people stuck. So we've got to be on constant guard and take our thoughts captive. Take them captive. We don't let them run the show. You might have heard it said that you can't control your first thought, but you can control the second one. So if you find yourself thinking the thoughts that are taking you down the road that bring you to a place you don't want to go, when would now be a good time to start taking those thoughts captive? The first thought comes, is this thought moving me closer to where I want to go, or is it moving me further away? If it's not moving me closer, I need to really examine that thought. I need to put that thought on the stand, and I need to question it. Is it true? Right? Is it true? That's just a simple question to ask. Most of the thoughts we think they're not even really true. Well, I don't know how to do that. Is that true? Well, I know some. I don't know the whole thing. Right? So the first question is it true? The second question is, can you be 100% certain without a shadow of a doubt that that's absolutely true? because usually when you dig deeper, you're going to find out, it's not really true. Maybe there's a little bit of truth in it, but it's not truth with a capital T. No, it's not true. I do know what to do. I do know what to do in this area. The third question you can ask yourself is, when I think that thought, how do I feel? How do I react? What's going on inside of me when I think the thought? I'm not good enough. I don't know enough. I don't have enough time, money, experience. I'm too old. I'm too young. Whatever the limiting thought is, that third question, how do you feel inside when you think that thought? Because let me give you the answer to the question. My guess is you feel like shit. You feel like crap. You feel like doo-doo. So then the next question is, who would you be without that thought? Who would you be without that thought? Well, you'd be someone who could actually take action. You'd be free. You'd feel better. Right? Then you can start to turn those things around. What if it was true that you do know enough to get started in whatever this area is? What if it's true that you do have enough experience? What if it's true that you are good enough? What if it's true you're not too old, you're not too young? What if it's true that you do have enough time? Then what would you do? You would take action. You would become intentional. So I really challenge you to think about those 4 questions. I got those 4 questions from a woman named Byron Katie. She calls it the work. Is it true? Is it 100% without a shadow of a doubt true? Who am I? What do I feel? How do I react when I think that thought? And then who would I be without that thought? And then what would I do? How could I turn that around so that I could actually take action? So I want to take you back for just a moment to when you were growing up. Think about your family of origin, the place where you spent the most amount of time as a child. Now, I love to always go back and figure out, where did I get my model of the world? I love my mother. Please understand that. She was a single mom. She did the very best she could with the resources and awareness that she had. I take nothing from my mother. In fact, I agree with Tony. She's the woman that she was and the mother that she was so that I could become the person that I am. Okay? But the reality is that I got some of my ways of thinking from that upbringing, a single mom. And some of the ways that I saw my mother engage with the world around her informed me in ways that made me strong, that made me smart, that gave me my work ethic, that helped me understand my need to take ownership of my own outcomes. And I love that. And I love that about her. And I appreciate that because I know life was hard for her. And some of the mindset that I got from her has not always helped me. For example, don't ever rely on anyone else because they're never going to stick around. And you better figure out how to take care of yourself. Okay? Especially don't rely on a man, because he ain't going to stick around and he won't do what he said he's going to do. Boy, that really cost me dearly a number of times, right? Don't ask for help because people will think you're weak. Just do it yourself. So you can see that some of those great qualities, some of those great things that my mother taught me by her example are things that I wouldn't trade. I'm strong, I'm smart, I'm resourceful. I always find a way. I'll get it done. I would not trade those, but some of the other ones I've had to work for decades to unlearn. You can't count on other people. You especially can't count on a man. Don't ask for help. Like, those things did not help me. They did not help me. Okay. So again, this is not about throwing shade on your parents. They did the very best they could with what they had. Most people's parents are not intentionally harming their children. You as a parent, hey, did you ever make a mistake as a parent? Gee whiz, I could write a book on it. But I never did any of that intentionally. I was doing the best I could. So what was your environment like growing up in terms of intentionality, in terms of thoughts, right? Was your family very strategic and active? Or, were they spontaneous and laid back? Did they go with the flow? Did they have a plan? Did you find your parents were always scrambling, trying to put something together, make it work? Did they go through feast or famine? Maybe you had a parent who was a salesperson or who owned a business, and they were either on top of the world or they were at the bottom of the pit. What are some of the things that you learned in that environment growing up that have contributed to who you are today? That's the nurture part of us. You know, maybe your parents taught you that you had to pick yourself up by your bootstraps and figure it out on your own and never ask for help. Maybe it's time to learn a different way of being. None of us are an island, right? So I don't know what it was for you. Can you be grateful to your family of origin, to your parents, for the things that they taught you by word and deed? And can you also be grateful that some of those things you're now realizing are not moving you in the direction you want to go, and it's time to change the story? Some of us need to write a new story, right? Anybody besides me need to make some changes in some areas of your thinking because it's not moving you forward in certain areas. Maybe you were told you're not good enough. Don't try out for that. You probably won't make it. You're too tall. You're too short. You're too fat. You're too thin. You're too whatever, right? Your parents didn't want you to get hurt. They didn't want you to be embarrassed. But now you're like, wait a minute, that actually didn't serve me. It would have helped me to try out and fall flat on my face so that I could have learned to be more resourceful. Maybe I would have become more intentional because I would have wanted to do the work so that I could get on the team the next year. I don't know what it is for you. I know what it is for me because I've spent the last 12 years through my work with Tony Robbins trying to figure that out so that I could create the life, the business, the marriage, the relationships, the health, the finances that I desire. Okay, this is about becoming intentional. So looking backward is important, but remember the rear view mirror on your car is about this big and the windshield is this big. It's more important to be facing forward of where you're going, but sometimes we need to look back and see, why do I continually run into this wall where I say, I don't know, that's really not for me. That's for those people. So it's important to look in that rearview mirror and think, where did that come from? If there is a mindset, if there's an area of your life that you're constantly bumping up against, and then you have the regret and the shame and the guilt or the self-flagellation about why you didn't do or follow through or something, it's probably a good idea to take a look in the rearview mirror and see where that might have come from and realize, wow, I was a kid, I made up a belief about that, or I adopted that belief. And maybe that isn't even what my parents meant, but I took that on as my own belief and it's not helping me. It's time to put that down and tell a new story, right? If you're going to use your imagination, use it for something that's for good, not for evil. All right. So when you think about what those barriers are to change, the barriers are to your change, what are the ones that you really need to get rid of? You really need to name those little demons so you can finally put them to rest. So I'm going to encourage you this week to think about what are the belief systems that are still getting in the way of you achieving the success that you want in whatever area. Maybe you're wildly successful in some areas and you're sucking wind in others. Think about those areas where you want to move the needle and really investigate your thoughts around that and ask yourself, what is the story I need to be telling? What is the story I have told? And why do I need to change it? Why is it important? Because if I don't move the needle forward in my finances, in my health, in my marriage, in my business, in my prospecting, in my spirituality, whatever that area is, if I don't move that needle forward, I'm not going to achieve that life of significance that I truly want to live. Well, when would now be a good time to finally put those things to death? So I'm going to encourage you this week to really think back, right? And the real crux of this is getting to why. Why does it matter? If there's something you've always wanted to pursue, if there's an area of your life right now where you're not living intentionally, but you really want to, you're tired of saying, I'm going to, I need to, I should. And you're ready to take action and say, not only I will, but I am. This is the time. This is the time. Right now, I will say this again, it's going to be really easy for all of us here in this country to spend the next, 8 months or so, or 6 months, just getting caught up in headlines of all sorts. And it's a real temptation for some of us. Somebody needs to do something. Things need to change. They need to stop doing that. They need to start doing that. It's going to be easy because the headlines are raging. Headlines are raging. Somebody says, well, I don't watch the news. Well, if you're on social media, that's where you're getting your news. So you're getting headlines from somewhere. It'd be real easy to go down that road. What a great distraction. The world is burning down. Maybe in your industry, some big changes are on the horizon. For those of you in the real estate industry, some big changes are on the horizon. I reached out to a broker and said, look, I'd love to, come and work with people. And they said, this is what we need. This is immediate. These changes are on the horizon. It could be really easy to get caught up in that and be totally distracted by what should happen, shouldn't happen, didn't happen, and all of those things. But the reality is, all of that stuff will pass away. All of it will. Big changes will come and go. Elections will come and go. All things ultimately will be beyond us. This too shall pass. Who are we left with when it's all said and done? Ourselves. So if you can become and remain intentional throughout the rest of this year, whatever the changes are that you're expecting, if you can remain intentional, if you can choose the area that you really want to move the needle on and become and remain intentional, then while the Chicken Littles of the world are running around claiming that the sky is falling, you'll be inching forward one step at a time. Will you get on the other side of whatever it is? And will you be proud at the work you've done? Or will you hang your head in shame and say, gosh, I can't believe I wasted 4 months, 6 months, 8 months. Now I have to get in action, right? That's the people I want in this group. I want you to say, look, stuff happens. It's always going to happen. When this, whatever it is over, the next thing will be on the horizon in your industry, in your country, in your town, in your family. It doesn't matter. So what are you doing to become and remain intentional? So I want you to think over the next week until we're together again on our next session, to write down a list of things that you know you need to become intentional about. A short list. Don't make it something in every single area. Come up with something you can actually take action on and feel good about. And then I want you to commit to taking one small step each day, just one little step each day towards the life that you want to live, towards the prospecting you want to be able to accomplish, towards the savings or investing you want to accomplish, towards the marriage, towards the family, towards your health, towards your ability to celebrate. Some of you need to freaking take a day off and celebrate, towards your spirituality, whatever the area is. This is about intentional living. It's not just about business. It's about all the areas. Pick something and make that commitment to take a small step every day, small step every day towards the significance that you truly desire and deserve. All right, we've got a couple of minutes left. I'm going to open up the lines here. If anybody wants to jump in, any thoughts, you want to be accountable to something, what can we help you with?
Angie, that PDF you shared on your screen, do you
Yes.
mind? Where is that? Where can we access that?
So if you go into the Mighty Network, let's see if I have it up. In the Mighty Network, yeah. Okay, so let me show you where that is. Let me share my screen. So if you go into the Mighty Network and you go to the feed over here on the left, you will see this participant guide. And so you'll be able to download that right here, and that will have questions and a lot of application things that we're talking about on these calls, including that diagram, where do I live? So you'll be able to find that there. And if you know somebody that you think would benefit from these, here on the left-hand side, you'll see the growth series and intentional living. And then each of the sessions will be here. The videos will be here. for people if, if they want to go back and catch up or, start from the beginning or rewatch any particular episode. All right, any other thoughts, questions, commitments? Is this helpful?
Yes, thank you.
Yes, awesome.
Absolutely.
I'm going to put it out there because I've been wanting to get back to exercising. Yesterday, I had the intention of doing so, and I allowed myself to get sidetracked, and I started running late, so I never did do my walk. This morning, I actually did put my walking clothes on and my sneakers and got distracted and started cleaning up my closet. So again, I didn't get to do my walk. So I'm putting it out there that I am going to be intentional about actually going out that door and doing my daily walk, my morning walk.
Yeah, that's beautiful. And that's why those things are the most important to us. If we don't do them first, there's a really high likelihood they're not going to get done. So whether that for you is prayer and meditation, reading, something inspirational or devotional or something in the morning, whether it's really spending a few good minutes with your spouse and sort of having that connection with them, exercising, those are things, if we get them done, you might have to get up early, but you get those things done. And the rest of the day is going to be better. Just like when you get to your office, if you're in a sales position and prospecting is part of your day, if you don't do that first, if you go check that email or clean out your desk drawer, clean out your closets, whatever, it's a million distractions that we all love to take advantage of. For those of you that love a checklist, like I'm a high D on the DISC. We've talked about DISC before, but that D personality or that C personality, we love tasks. So we love to check it off. If I got a checklist of things that need to be done, my tendency, also because I'm competitive, is to want to get rid of all the little stuff first so that I can really sink my teeth into the big things. Well, that's ass backwards because the little things don't really actually matter. It's the big thing that does. And there's generally on a list of 10, there's 1 or 2 that actually matter. We got to shift our thinking. I got to tackle those big things first. Then I can clean out my closet or my desk drawer or whatever. So just know that that's a tendency that we all have. So we've all heard it. Mary Ann wants to get up and take that walk in the morning. So we're going to ask you about it next week. And if you work with Mary Ann and see her around the office, look at her feet. She better be in some sneakers.
Angie, I just want to say thanks. This is, obviously at this point in my career, this is still great. I wish I'd had this when I was 20 years old. And I do have my intern on here who is under 20. And I think this is great for everyone, but there he is.
Hey, Will.
For
Hey,
someone,
how you doing?
for someone like him that can start early and really, hone in on these things that need to be done on an intentional basis, I think this will set him up well for his career.
Yeah. And for sure, when you're young and just getting started, it feels like you just are a wheel. You're just rolling down the hill. And so it feels like I need to take advantage of every opportunity and do it all right now. And so we can easily get distracted and find ourselves chasing all these different rabbits or chickens around the yard instead of finding that one thing that we know we need to get intentional about and chasing it. Show of hands, unless you're Will, how many of you wish you had this kind of information when you were 20? Like everybody on this call, is going to say like, man, I wish I'd been thinking this way. I wish someone had spoken these truths into me when I was 20. But hey, the best time to plant a tree is when you're Will's age. The next best time is now. And so all of us can become intentional. Look, the world abounds with stories of people that didn't get started until they were old, like Colonel Sanders. Like that's one of those examples. So we all know that people that have become great at a later stage of life. So it's really never too late to become intentional, right? And then to become and start to build the life, however much of that you have left that you want. So yeah, I love that you said that because most of us wish we had had this kind of information as a young person. John Maxwell's 77. He ain't slowing down. He's already got like 3 or 4 more books in his head that he wants to write. And so this one came about, this book, Intentional Living, because he did a lot of work with Coach John Wooden. So some of you that are sports enthusiasts know who John Wooden is. And John Wooden was the reason why he was successful the way that he was, is because he was intentional. He would spend hours preparing for a 1-hour practice with his team. It was his ability to be intentional that helped him to grow and become the winningest coach, I suppose, in history. And so that's the power of being intentional. So we all have that ability within us. So awesome, guys. We'll have a fantastic week. You've got some homework. I can't wait to hear about it on our next session. And please feel free to share this with anybody you think would benefit from it. I'm always happy to have more people jump in. Thanks, guys. Have a
Thank
Thanks,
great
Angie.
week.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye, thank you.